The Quiet Deception. The chambers of the Galactic Dominion Council stretched vast and ornate beneath the crystalline dome of Nexus Prime Station, where the leaders of 12 star-spanning civilizations gathered to discuss matters of galactic importance. Holographic displays flickered with data streams from 1,000 worlds, but one planet in particular commanded their attention today. A blue marble orbiting a yellow star in the Orion Arm, a world its inhabitants called Earth. Ambassador Callus of the Thraxian Empire stood before the assembled council, his 6 arms gesturing with calculated precision at the 3-dimensional projection floating in the center of the chamber. His species had dominated this sector of space for millennia, and their military might was unquestioned throughout the known galaxy. Today, however, his violet eyes gleamed with something between contempt and anticipation. "Esteemed council members," Callus began, his voice resonating through the translator matrix, "the data before you confirms what our intelligence services have suspected for decades. Earth, despite its rapid technological advancement in certain fields, remains utterly defenseless against external threats. They possess no orbital defense platforms, no planetary shield systems, and no visible military fleet beyond primitive atmospheric craft." A ripple of murmurs passed through the assembled delegates. The Vesperi representative, a being of crystalline structure that shimmered with inner light, raised a tendril of energy in question. "Ambassador Callus, surely the humans must have some form of planetary defense. Their television broadcasts indicate they have developed nuclear weapons." Callus allowed himself a dismissive gesture. "Nuclear weapons are effective against planetary targets, yes, but useless against a properly shielded invasion fleet. Our analysis shows Earth's military focuses entirely on internal conflicts. They waste resources fighting amongst themselves rather than preparing for the greater universe." The holographic display shifted, showing detailed scans of Earth's orbit, where other civilized worlds would bristle with defense stations and military outposts. Earth showed only communication satellites and scientific instruments. The planet seemed naked, vulnerable, ripe for conquest. High Counselor Zethlar, ancient and wise, leaned forward from her elevated position. The scales along her neck pulsed with thoughtful bioluminescence. "And what does the Thraxian Empire propose regarding this defenseless world?" Callus straightened to his full height, all 6 eyes focusing on the council. "We propose to bring Earth under our protection, for their own good and the stability of this sector. Their resources, particularly their vast water reserves and genetic diversity, would benefit the greater galactic community. Without our intervention, they'd remain vulnerable to less benevolent forces." The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Protection, in Thraxian terms, meant subjugation. The council members exchanged knowing glances, but none voiced objection. Earth's apparent weakness made it a tempting target, and better the Thraxians than the Zorgoth swarm or the Neolith raiders. High Counselor Zethar's scales flickered with decision. "The Council acknowledges the Thraxian Empire's claim to protectorate status over the Sol system. Proceed with your mission, Ambassador Callus, but remember, the Council expects minimal disruption to indigenous populations." Callus bowed, trying to conceal his satisfaction. "Of course, High Counselor, we shall be most gentle." 3 standard days later, the Thraxian invasion fleet assembled at the edge of the Sol system. 200 warships, each a masterpiece of destructive engineering, formed up in perfect formation behind Admiral Thran's flagship, the Imperator's Wrath. The Admiral stood on his command deck, studying tactical displays with the careful attention that had earned him victories across 50 worlds. "Status report," Thran commanded, his voice carrying the weight of authority. "All ships reporting ready, Admiral," responded his tactical officer. "Stealth fields active, weapons charged to 40% for initial approach. Long-range scanners show no defensive activity from Earth." Thran nodded, yet something about the situation troubled him. His instincts, honed through centuries of warfare, whispered warnings he couldn't quite identify. "Begin approach to Earth orbit. Maintain formation Delta 7, and keep shields at maximum. As the fleet advanced through the outer system, they passed the gas giants without incident. No automated defense systems activated. No warning broadcasts challenged their approach. Earth remained silent, seemingly oblivious to the massive force bearing down upon it. "Admiral," the communications officer called out, confusion evident in his voice. "We're receiving something. It's not on any standard frequency, and the pattern doesn't match known communication protocols." "Display it," Thran ordered. The main view screen filled with what appeared to be random electromagnetic noise, but there was something beneath it, a pattern that seemed to shift just as the mind began to grasp it. The signal grew stronger as they approached Neptune's orbit. Suddenly, every alarm on the bridge screamed to life. The tactical display erupted with contact warnings, not from ahead, but from all around them. The signal they'd been receiving wasn't random noise. It was a detection grid, vast and sophisticated beyond anything the Thraxians had encountered. Multiple contacts emerging from Neptune's Lagrange points. The tactical officer shouted. They were hidden in the planet's magnetic field. Admiral Thran watched in disbelief as objects began to materialize on his scanners. Not ships in any conventional sense, but massive structures that defied classification. They were geometric, angular, and gave off energy readings that made the Imperator's RAF's sensors scream in protest. "Defensive positions," Thran barked. "All ships, shields to maximum. Weapons free." But even as he gave the orders, he knew something was terribly wrong. Earth wasn't defenseless. It was waiting. The humans had built a detection grid that spanned their entire solar system, hidden in plain sight by using the natural electromagnetic fields of their gas giants. The first of the mysterious structures completed its emergence from Neptune's shadow. It was enormous, easily dwarfing the largest Thraxian battleship. Its surface wasn't smooth but composed of countless smaller segments that shifted and rearranged themselves like a living thing. "Admiral," the science officer's voice trembled, "those aren't ships. They're automated defense platforms. The energy signatures suggest they've been dormant for decades, maybe longer." Thran felt a chill run down his spine. "Decades? How could we have missed them?" "Because they wanted us to, sir. These platforms are designed to be invisible until activated. And, sir, there are hundreds of them throughout the system." The Admiral's mind raced. If the humans had built such sophisticated outer system defenses, what else were they hiding? His thoughts were interrupted by a new alert. "Incoming transmission from Earth," the communications officer reported. "Audio only." "Play it," Thran ordered. A human voice filled the bridge, calm and measured. "Thraxian Fleet, this is Earth Defense Command. You have entered sovereign space with hostile intent. Your approach has been monitored since you passed the Orc cloud. Stand down immediately or face the consequences." Thran's tactical instincts screamed at him to retreat, but pride and duty held him in place. "This is Admiral Thran of the Thraxian Empire. Earth has been designated a protectorate under Galactic Dominion Council authority. Stand down your defenses." The response came immediately. "Admiral Thran, Earth recognizes no such authority. You have 30 seconds to begin withdrawal procedures. This is your only warning." The bridge crew looked to their admiral, waiting for orders. Thran studied the tactical display, weighing his options. The Neptune platforms were powering up weapons systems unlike anything in the Thraxian database. "Admiral," his second-in-command whispered, "perhaps we should reconsider. If they have this level of technology in the outer system." Thran cut him off. "We proceed. Earth is bluffing. They can't possibly." His words were cut short as space itself seemed to tear open near Jupiter. Energy readings spiked beyond measurable levels as something massive began to emerge from what appeared to be a fold in spacetime. The bridge fell silent as they witnessed the impossible. From the distortion came a ship, but calling it a ship seemed almost insulting. It was art and death made manifest, a construct of pure human ingenuity that defied every known principle of starship design. The vessel was sleek and predatory, its hull a deep, light-absorbing black broken only by lines of brilliant blue energy that pulsed like veins. It was easily 5 times the size of the Imperator's wrath, yet it moved with impossible grace, as if mass and inertia were mere suggestions rather than laws. What is that?" someone whispered. The tactical officer's hands shook as he reported. "Unknown configuration, sir. Energy output exceeds our measurements. It's not possible. No civilization has technology like this." Admiral Thran stared at the behemoth before them, realization dawning with terrible clarity. Earth hadn't been defenseless. It had been playing a game far beyond their comprehension. The humans hadn't built a defense fleet. They had built something else entirely. The sleeping giants awaken. Admiral Thran stood frozen at his command station, watching as the impossible vessel designated Leviathan held position near Jupiter. Its presence seemed to warp space around it, creating visual distortions that hurt the eyes to observe directly. The bridge crew worked in terrified silence, their instruments struggling to make sense of readings that defied known physics. "Admiral," the science officer's voice cracked with strain, "I'm detecting quantum fluctuations emanating from that ship. It's manipulating space-time at a fundamental level. The technology required for this should be centuries beyond Earth's capabilities." Thran's mind raced, trying to reconcile what he was seeing with everything he knew about humanity. The intelligence reports had been unanimous. Earth was decades behind even the most modest galactic civilizations in terms of military technology. Yet here was evidence that contradicted every assessment, every prediction, every assumption they had made. "Sir," the tactical officer interrupted urgently, "we're detecting massive energy surges from Earth itself. Multiple locations, Pacific Ocean, Atlantic depths, beneath the Arctic ice sheets. Something's happening planet-side." The main display shifted to show Earth in real time, enhanced by the fleet's powerful sensors. What they saw defied belief. In 3 locations across the planet's surface, the oceans were beginning to churn and boil. Massive whirlpools formed, each spanning dozens of kilometers, their centers glowing with an otherworldly blue light. From these maelstroms, titans emerged. The first rose from the Pacific, water cascading off its hull in torrents that would have dwarfed any waterfall on Earth. It was smaller than Leviathan, but no less imposing. A triangular craft with edges sharp enough to slice reality itself. Its surface was covered in hexagonal patterns that shifted and flowed like liquid metal, each segment pulsing with contained energy. The second emerged from the Atlantic, cylindrical and massive, its hull adorned with spires that crackled with barely contained power. Unlike its siblings, this vessel seemed to drink in light, creating a zone of absolute darkness around it that sensors couldn't penetrate. The third and final dreadnought broke through the Arctic ice with contemptuous ease, sending shards of frozen water kilometers into the atmosphere. It was the most alien of the 3, its form constantly shifting between geometric configurations that shouldn't have been able to exist in 3-dimensional space. 3 more dreadnoughts, Thran whispered, the word tasting like ash in his mouth. They had 4 of these monsters, and we never knew. His second-in-command, Commander Velek, stepped forward. "Admiral, we must withdraw. These aren't ships. There's something else entirely. Our weapons won't even scratch them." Before Thran could respond, a new transmission came through from Earth. This time, the signal carried video as well as audio. The screen filled with the image of a human woman in a uniform that bore no resemblance to any Earth military dress the Thraxians had catalogued. Her dark hair was streaked with silver, and her eyes held a weight that spoke of terrible knowledge. "Admiral Thran," she said, her voice carrying absolute authority. "I am Commander Sarah Chen of Earth Strategic Command. You now understand the magnitude of your miscalculation. These are the Prometheus, the Avalon, the Ragnarok, and the Leviathan, Earth's dreadnought fleet. They were built not for conquest, but for this moment." Thran found his voice. "Commander Chen, we came here under the authority of the Galactic Dominion Council. The Council has no authority here, Chen interrupted. Earth has been aware of the galactic community for over 2 centuries. We've watched your wars, studied your technologies, and understood your nature. We chose to appear defenseless because we needed to know who would come for us first. Congratulations, Admiral. The Thraxian Empire has revealed itself as the primary threat to human sovereignty. The implications of her words struck Thran like a physical blow. Earth hadn't been ignorant of the galactic community. They had been studying it, preparing for it. Every piece of seemingly primitive technology, every broadcast of internal conflict, every sign of weakness had been deliberately crafted to create a specific impression. Your dreadnoughts, Thran said slowly. How long have they existed? Chen's expression didn't change. The first keel was laid in 1969, the year we reached our moon. We've been building and improving them ever since, hidden beneath our oceans and within dimensional pockets we created. Every advancement in human technology, computers, materials science, quantum physics, was directed toward this purpose. The tactical display suddenly flared with warnings. The 4 dreadnoughts were moving, taking up positions that formed a perfect tetrahedral formation with Earth at its center. The energy readings between them suggested they were creating some kind of field, but its purpose remained unclear. Admiral, the weapons officer reported, panic evident in his voice, our targeting systems can't lock onto the dreadnoughts. It's like they exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Commander Chen continued, Admiral Thran, you have a choice. Withdraw now, return to the Galactic Dominion Council, and inform them that Earth declines their protection, or remain, and discover why we named these vessels after legends of destruction and rebirth. Thran's pride warred with his survival instinct. The Thraxian Empire had never retreated from a battle, never surrendered to a lesser species, but looking at those 4 impossible ships, he wondered if humanity could truly be called lesser. All ships, he ordered finally, begin withdrawal procedures. Set course for. His command was cut short as space around the fleet suddenly changed. The stars seemed to shift and blur, and the familiar constellations disappeared. The tactical display showed impossible readings. They were still in the Sol system, but somehow also weren't. What have you done? Thran demanded. Chen's image remained calm. We've activated the Dyson Protocol. Your fleet now exists in a quantum bubble, isolated from normal spacetime. You'll be released once we're certain you understand the message you'll carry back to the Council. And what message is that? For the first time, Chen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. That Earth has been playing a different game entirely. While your civilizations fought over resources and territory, we prepared for something bigger. The dreadnoughts you see are just the beginning. As if to emphasize her point, the 4 vessels began to demonstrate their capabilities. Leviathan opened what appeared to be a miniature black hole, contained within a perfect sphere of energy. Prometheus generated a beam of coherent gravity that twisted space itself into impossible shapes. Avalon seemed to split into multiple versions of itself, each existing in a different quantum state. Ragnarok simply ceased to exist in one location and appeared in another without crossing the intervening space. We studied your histories, Chen continued. Every species in the Council reached the stars through conquest and expansion. You never considered that a species might choose a different path, that we might develop technology not to conquer, but to ensure we could never be conquered. The demonstration continued for what felt like hours, but was only minutes according to the ship's chronometers. When it ended, the dreadnoughts returned to their positions, and the quantum bubble stabilized. Admiral Thran stood in silence, processing everything he had witnessed. His entire worldview had been shattered in the span of a single day. Earth wasn't a primitive world ripe for conquest. It was a sleeping giant that had chosen to appear weak while developing powers that bordered on godlike. Commander Chen, he said finally, all traces of arrogance gone from his voice. What do you want from us? Return to the Council. Tell them what you've seen. Make them understand that humanity will engage with the galactic community on our terms, as equals or not at all. We have no desire for war, but we will not be subjugated. The quantum bubble began to dissipate, normal space returning around the Thraxian fleet. The Dreadnoughts remained visible, a silent reminder of Earth's true capabilities. And Admiral, Chen added as the transmission began to fade, tell them this is merely our defensive capability. Pray you never see what we built for offense. As the connection closed, Admiral Thran gave the order to withdraw. The mighty Thraxian fleet, undefeated in 1,000 battles, turned and fled from a planet they had thought defenseless. Behind them, the 4 Dreadnoughts maintained their vigil, guardians of a world that had deceived the entire galaxy. The implications of what had transpired would ripple across known space, forever changing the balance of power. Earth had announced itself not with conquest or aggression, but with a demonstration of such overwhelming technological superiority that warfare became meaningless. And in the deepest vaults beneath Earth's surface, where even the Dreadnoughts were mere prototypes, humanity's true secrets waited. For the galaxy had seen Earth's shield, but the sword remained sheathed, its edge too terrible to reveal unless absolutely necessary. The Reckoning. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Dominion Council had never known such silence. Admiral Thran stood before the assembled representatives, his bearing stripped of its usual military pride. The holographic recording of Earth's Dreadnoughts played on loop behind him, each viewing making the impossible ships seem more real, more terrifying. High Counselor Zethar's scales had turned a sickly gray, a color none had ever seen on her species before. Admiral Thran, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, you're telling us that Earth has possessed this technology for over 2 centuries. Yes, High Counselor, Thran replied. Every assessment we made was wrong. Every piece of intelligence was deliberately fed to us. The humans didn't just hide their capabilities. They orchestrated the greatest deception in galactic history. Ambassador Kellis, who had so confidently declared Earth defenseless just days ago, slumped in his seat. But why? Why appear weak? Why invite invasion? A new voice answered from the chamber's entrance. Because we needed to know who our enemies were. Commander Sarah Chen walked into the chamber, flanked by 2 figures in advanced exosuits that seemed to bend light around them. The Council security forces moved to intercept, but their weapons simply stopped working. I come as Earth's first official ambassador to the Galactic Dominion Council, Chen announced. Though I suspect ambassador is not quite the right term for what I represent. High Counselor Zethar found her voice. You dare enter this chamber after threatening a member species. Chen's smile was cold. We threatened no one. We simply revealed the truth. For 200 years, Earth has watched your council. We've seen how you treat species you deem primitive. The Varelians, subjected to forced technological uplift that destroyed their culture. The Canary, whose homeworld was strip-mined because they couldn't defend it. The Malthi, who now exist only as genetic samples in your laboratories. She gestured, and the chamber's holographic systems activated without anyone touching the controls. Images appeared, detailed recordings of council decisions, secret meetings, and classified operations. We have been watching, recording, and preparing, Chen continued. Every species that reached the stars before us did so through violence and domination. We chose a different path. While you fought wars over resources, we solved resource scarcity. While you built weapons to conquer, we built weapons to ensure peace. The Vesperi representative chimed, its crystalline form pulsing with agitation. You speak of peace while demonstrating weapons that could destroy star systems. Exactly, Chen nodded. Peace through strength absolute enough to make war unthinkable. The Dreadnoughts you saw are our diplomatic corps. They exist to have conversations like this one. Conversations where the true balance of power is undeniable. She walked to the center of the chamber, commanding attention with her presence alone. Earth formally requests membership in the Galactic Dominion Council, with full voting rights and autonomous status. We will share certain technologies that will benefit all species, medical advances, environmental restoration techniques, and resource multiplication methods. In return, we demand the immediate cessation of all forced uplift programs, the restoration of subjugated species sovereignty, and the establishment of true equality among council members. Ambassador Callus rose, his 6 arms gesturing wildly. You cannot simply appear and demand to reshape galactic civilization. Can't we? Chen asked quietly. Your own laws state that any species demonstrating technological superiority can claim a seat on this council. I believe our demonstration was sufficient. High Counselor Zethar looked at the human commander with a mixture of fear and reluctant respect. And if we refuse your terms, then we will withdraw from galactic affairs entirely, Chen replied. Earth will become a fortress world, and any ship approaching our system will be considered hostile. We have no desire to conquer or rule. We simply refuse to be conquered or ruled. The chamber erupted in heated debate. Some representatives argued for accepting Earth's terms, terrified of making an enemy of such a powerful species. Others insisted that humanity's deception proved they couldn't be trusted. Through it all, Chen stood calmly at the center, waiting. Finally, High Counselor Zethar called for order. Commander Chen, your species has indeed demonstrated unprecedented capabilities. But trust, once broken, is not easily restored. How can we believe Earth's intentions are peaceful when you've deceived us for so long? Chen's expression softened slightly. Because deception was our only defense, we watched species after species fall to your protection. We saw the pattern. First contact, assessment of military weakness, then absorption into your empire under the guise of benevolence. We couldn't risk open contact until we were certain we could meet you as equals. She paused, then continued. But now that our capabilities are known, we offer transparency. Allow us to demonstrate our intentions through actions, not words. We will begin by sharing our medical technologies. Diseases that plague your worlds can be eliminated within a generation. Our environmental restoration techniques can reverse the damage done to strip-mined planets. We offer these freely, as a gesture of goodwill. The council chamber fell silent as members considered her words. Admiral Thran, who had remained quiet since Chen's arrival, stepped forward. High Counselor, he said, I've spent my life studying warfare and power. What I witnessed at Earth wasn't just superior technology. It was restraint. They could have destroyed my fleet without warning. Instead, they revealed their strength and allowed us to withdraw. Perhaps we should consider that a species capable of such power, yet choosing not to use it destructively, might indeed be different from what we've known. High Counselor Zethar's scales shifted through several colors before settling on a deep blue of contemplation. Very well, Commander Chen. Earth's petition for membership will be considered. But understand this, we will be watching you as closely as you've watched us. Chen nodded. We would expect nothing less. But remember, Counselor, we've been preparing for this moment for 2 centuries. Everything you see, everything we reveal, is because we choose to show it. The true extent of Earth's capabilities remains our sovereign secret. As the council session concluded, the representatives filed out, each lost in thought about the new reality they faced. Earth had not just joined the galactic community, it had fundamentally altered it. In the months that followed, humanity kept its promises. Diseases that had plagued countless worlds vanished. Dead planets bloomed with new life. Technologies that seemed like magic transformed struggling colonies into thriving paradises. And through it all, the Dreadnoughts maintained their silent vigil, a reminder that Earth's generosity was matched by its capacity for destruction. The galaxy had believed Earth was defenseless, but the emergence of the Dreadnoughts revealed a truth that would echo through history. The most dangerous predator is the one that appears harmless until it chooses to show its teeth. Earth had shown its teeth not to devour, but to ensure it would never be devoured. And in the depths of human space, in facilities hidden between the folds of reality itself, New projects continued. For the Dreadnoughts, as Commander Chen had hinted, were merely the beginning. Humanity had learned that in a universe full of predators, the only true safety lay in being the apex predator that chose not to hunt. The galaxy would never again underestimate the small blue planet in the Orion Arm. Earth had arrived not as a conquest, but as a revelation, a demonstration that true power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to build, protect, and preserve. As Admiral Fran would later write in his memoirs, "We came to conquer a lamb and found instead a dragon that had learned to count sheep. The galaxy will never be the same, and perhaps that is exactly what it needed. Retriclaude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses."